Hey everyone, StarCraft here, and this is going to be a bit of a different video. It's going to be the start of yet another, I know I'm doing a lot of these, series of videos I like to call series from the Multiverse, where I talk about possible ideas that always pop in my head, because I'm always thinking of crazy takes on everything given based on what information we have at our disposal. Now, I will be getting to my Scott Snyder video. The problem with that was I felt I should have gone through the Swamp Thing series. However, I only read that when it first came out, and rereading through it again, it just, because I didn't reread it over and over again, it just wasn't there. Scott, if you ever listen to this, I doubt it, but if you listen to this one, I will still talk about it. I promise that. I had mentioned that before. I will still talk about it, but not as detailed as I will the Court of Owls story. I'm sorry, but it's what I'm going to have to do, because it's taken me forever to get through all of those. Whereas with Batman Court of Owls, I can just simply go right in and sum it up right off the cuff. Now, the way this works is, I'm going to be talking about the evidence, everything given to us, then look over the evidence, and then come up with my theory. Oh, wait, I think I didn't specify exactly what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about the end moment of Batman 60. Spoiler alerts, everybody, but at the end, we see Thomas Wayne, Batman from Flashpoint, somehow still alive. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's look over some of the evidence, such as, who is this Batman, to those of you who don't know? Let's go back to Flashpoint itself. Flashpoint was an event by Jeff John and Andy Kubert in 2011. The basic story is that Flash, Barry Allen, wakes up and finds the world has been drastically altered for the worse. It's, spoiler again, later revealed that it was all his fault. In this universe, Bruce Wayne was shot and killed, which affected his parents very differently. Thomas decided to actually become the Batman of this universe. More on that in a moment. But Martha, on the other hand, her mind snapped, and she ended up becoming the Joker of this universe. Good God, this version of Joker is really, really twisted, as seen in Brian Azzarello and Edward Riso, I think that's how you say his name, miniseries that was spun off from all this. And she is just twisted and broken and has a hatred for kids especially, which, given how she lost hers, that's understandable. Thomas was far more ruthless than Bruce ever was as Batman. For starters, because he was an older man, he wasn't trained, so he was more of a brawler. He was quicker to use guns and kill. Although, given what we would see, it's more than likely he would only kill when needed or the extreme forces, because he still has a good rapport with Commissioner Gordon, and as we know, he and Gordon would not allow it to be going out of hand. Fun fact, and I use that term loosely, in this universe, Selina Kyle is Oracle, and she's even more damaged than Barbara Gordon ever was. Poor girl. Look at all those cats around her. Well, I guess she can't get away from them. Thomas Wayne would help Barry Allen purely out of the hope that the universe where his son survived can come back, even if it meant he didn't exist in it. Thomas Wayne would help kill Reverse Flash. Yeah, what kind of name is Eobard anyway? Thomas is right about that. And he is seemingly mortally wounded in the climax of the story. Thomas gives Barry a letter to give to Bruce, which he does so after the event. It actually brings a tear to the Dark Knight's eyes. A later event going on called Convergence, where a bunch of different timelines and alternate universe versions of the DC heroes were plucked out from different moments and put into an arena match basically to fight each other. Thomas Wayne is also around, but for some reason he also remembers dying. This event is up in the air how much it actually is consistent with what we will later see. But during all this, he eventually meets up with Superman of the pre-Flashpoint Earth, and they put their differences aside and stop fighting when Lois Lane, pregnant at the time, goes into labor. Like I said, one of the Convergence stuff can fit in it's very unclear how. Could this be how Thomas Wayne is still survived later? Maybe, but they also give an explanation in the other event. What would be the actual follow-up to Flashpoint would be during Tom King's run on Batman. The crossover was The Flash, known as The Button, where Batman, studying both the comedian's button, yes, from Watchmen, that's what this is kind of tying into, and the Psycho-Pirate's mask, which he had gathered up from Bane earlier. And it seems that the mask reacts to the button and creates an image of Thomas Wayne. How? It's not really explained. Reverse Flash would then show up, interested in the button, and he would beat up Batman, but not before destroying Thomas's letter. We readers will never know what it said in there. Yes, though, this Reverse Flash is the one from Flashpoint Reborn, and he remembers everything that Thomas did. He eventually steals the button and follows its vibrational frequency, but when he comes back turning into a skeleton. Whoever, whatever, okay, it's Dr. Manhattan, we all know that, did this to him, but Bruce and Barry don't know that, and they want to figure out what happened. Events eventually lead to Bruce and Barry using the cosmic treadmill to follow where Reverse Flash had gone, but then they get bounced back and somehow end up in the Flashpoint universe that's still existing. And the events of this world had continued after the events of Flashpoint. During this time, Thomas is ready to make his final stand against a bunch of other enemies coming towards him. Again, no idea if Convergence fits in this or not, but it's made very clear he did survive his wound somehow. Bruce shows up, and Thomas naturally thinks at first this is a trick and lashes out at Barry. But Bruce is able to talk him down, and soon the enemies enter the Batcave. Father and son, after Bruce tells Thomas no guns, start to fight him off while Barry tries to get the cosmic treadmill working again. Suddenly, whatever was holding this alternate reality has finally decided to let it go, and everything starts to collapse. Crisis style, with the void of nothingness. Thomas, after Bruce reveals he's a grandfather in his reality and wants Thomas to come with him, pushes Bruce to the treadmill, telling Barry to go, but not before giving Bruce some harsh final words. He tells him he should stop being Batman. He should stop using his parents' death to justify being Batman, and he should try and find happiness. After Flash and Batman leave, Thomas steals himself, taking a batarang in each hand, and charges into the nothingness, and he and all of Flashpoint finally are no more. Bruce would later take his father's words to heart and finally propose to Selina, hoping to get a better life now with her. This appears, though, to come to an end, and as well, and just like Thomas Wayne himself, during the events of Batman 50, where Selina decides to just end it, leaves him at the altar, well, the figurative altar. But in the final panel of that issue, we find out Tom King has a bigger story going on. We find out the mastermind behind everything so far, including the breaking of the wedding, was all done by Bane. Yeah, that's really a much bigger story to talk about. But right now, in the final panel, we see all of these characters around. Joker, Riddler, Doctor Strange, Gotham Girl, again, more about her in another video probably, and even Skeets from Booster Gold from New York a while back. But we also see Thomas Wayne's Batman? What? This would not be addressed or even talked about until Batman 60, during which an incarcerated Penguin working and helping Batman out after a traumatic moment for him is talking to an, at the moment, unknown figure. When Penguin realizes who he is, despite being blindfolded, he panics and says he only told Batman about Bane, not the figure in question. But the figure in question reveals, no, you did what we wanted you to do. And at the very end of the issue, like I said, it's revealed the person who broke into the Batcave and took the Penguin was none other than Thomas Wayne Batman himself, standing right above his son and Alfred, who he also beats it up, by the way. Yeah, and I don't think it was worth the money, Alfred. Now, let's go over this. There's multiple ways that this could work, but so many of them contradict each other. But it boils down to a few big questions. Is this the real Thomas Wayne from the Flashpoint? Somehow he survived? And if it is, why is he working with Bane to break his son? The odds of it being Thomas himself are very slim, given the absolute finality we got from him in the button. Sure, Dr. Manhattan could have taken him away and brought him here, but Tom King really hasn't done much with the Manhattan things leading to Doomsday Clock outside of the button. And that, plus when Thomas ran into the nothingness, there wasn't a blue aura around him, usually indicating Manhattan's involvement and interference. So chances are that Thomas is dead. And even if it was somehow Thomas Wayne, given how things went between him and his son, it's very unlikely that he would aid Bane in this. I'll get to why other versions could do this. The most likely explanation could connect back to the moment where Thomas Wayne appeared from the Psycho Pirate's mask. But even that raises further questions. Like, when we saw that moment, Thomas Wayne was just an image, an illusion, nothing solid. And yet in Batman 60, he's clearly very solid. And last I checked, Batman still has the Psycho Pirate's mask. Yes, Bane still has Psycho Pirate, but how could the image appear from the mask if Bane doesn't have it? And yet he could also have Thomas be in Arkham with Bane. And that image didn't seem to react too much. It did reach out to Bruce, but it didn't have much thoughts going into it. Well, look, my theory is this. If Tom King is going back to the idea from Grant Morrison's Animal Man, in that Psycho Pirate himself has the similar plucking things from the multiverse that the mask is shown during the button, and Bane could have used this through Hugo Strange's manipulation, he does that quite a bit, to conjure up this version of Thomas, and knowing that it will affect Bruce. But this Thomas isn't exactly the one from Flashpoint. He looks like him, he might even act like him, but it doesn't feel like he's entirely him. And Thomas, while it could be standing, brooding, and intimidating, doesn't seem to be like he would be this long quiet. And the other reason is, I think this version of Thomas is incomplete. I mean, it's not a perfect image. It's just something that Psycho Pirate could have plucked out. So he's much more easily manipulated. He knows some things, but doesn't know others. And Hugo Strange, with Bane's charismatic personality, yes, he does have that, people, it could lead Thomas to believing that Bruce still refused to become Batman and to stop being Batman, even with marrying Selina. So they probably have left him to believe that this is the only way to stop him, to break Bruce and make him hate being Batman. Obviously, Bane is planning to do far worse than that, but this Thomas probably believes drastic measures must be made. That despite what he told his son, he's led to believe that his son was never going to give it up. And he wants his son to be happy, so he must make him hate it. That's what I'm thinking right now, anyway. Now, this is just my own theory, based off of what we have available. It's very likely, in fact I'm kind of counting on it and would be disappointed if it wasn't the case, that Tom King has a bigger story going on with more behind the scenes details that we don't know about until we get there. Whenever he gets back to the story, since the next few issues seem to be little one and dones again, then again it could also be a bigger lie for all we know, and then there's a Flash crossover, we won't find out until about Batman 66 or so. But as it stands, this is my way of rationalizing how Thomas Wayne could be back and working for Bane. If I'm right, I'll be over the moon ecstatic. If I'm wrong, again, I'm more banking on it that I am wrong than I am being right. But hey, this is just a little fun experiment. That's all I have going on. Next video, I promise, besides any other streams, will be the next part of my Scott Snyder series. Catch you then.